So Accsoon sent me this product a couple weeks ago, the Cine Eye video transmitter. Now this is a transmitter that allows you to transmit your video from your camera straight onto any smart device, and up to 4 devices in fact. And right now I'm actually using it for my framing to see how this shot goes, see how the lighting is set up. It's pretty self-explanatory what this does, but how well it does it is a different story, and today we're going to take a look at the performance of this Cine Eye video transmitter. Now like I said earlier, this is a video transmitter that allows you to transmit video to up to 4 different devices, which means you can get up to 4 people monitoring your shot at the same time. So this is very convenient if you have clients or if you have directors and producers sitting in their own spaces and you want them all to monitor the same footage that you're shooting without them having to breathe over your neck. Right off the bat, you can see that there's a bit of a lag, so whether this can be used for pulling focus on a live shoot, it's a different story altogether. But coming in at the price that it's priced at, it's probably one of the more affordable video transmitters out there. So this is a miniature version of what the professionals use on set, and of course it comes with its drawbacks as well. Like I said earlier, there is a bit of a latency disparity, as you can see, so pulling focus using this isn't exactly perfect, but it's still doable. I used this shot on one of my previous videos where I was getting a friend to pull focus for me while I was concentrating on getting the smooth shots on the gimbal, and so far it kind of turned out well. I wouldn't say it's extremely accurate, but you pay for what you get. The Cine Eye basically works off a Wi-Fi connection with your smart devices, and at times it can get a bit difficult to get a connection. And if you turn off the Cine Eye altogether, it loses its connection and it takes a bit of time to connect back to the Wi-Fi signal and then connect the feedback to your smart device. Now I found that a bit troublesome, and some of my friends who have this already said they kind of look dumb in front of clients while they were fiddling with all the apps and trying to connect it back together. So not something you might want to use if you are in a high budget shoot, but still something to consider if you're on a low budget. Now another thing I like about this is that it's a very small and compact form, and you can just put it on the top of your camera, be it on a gimbal or on a smaller handheld rig, and it wouldn't weigh too much. It still has its own internal battery, which means you don't have to power it externally. As you can see, there are 4 LED lights on the device itself that lets you know how much power is still left in the device itself. I've only charged this once and it's still been running throughout all my tests and even up to now when I'm shooting this video. So pretty good battery life, but if you do need to extend the battery life of the Cine Eye, there is a USB-C port on the side of the device that allows you to connect it to an external power source, giving you an endless supply of power. So like any of my reviews, I like to use the product for a couple of weeks before giving you guys my thoughts, and I've been using the Cine Eye for the past few videos for different shots and different angles, and it's been pretty handy, especially if you don't want wires running around your rig. Another good use of this wireless transmitter is especially if you're shooting by yourself like I'm doing right now, and you want to see how well you're framing it or how well the shot's going. So for example, this very difficult shot where I had the camera behind me, there was no way for me to monitor it besides having a separate monitor, and luckily I had the use of this Cine Eye to help me monitor my shot wirelessly through my iPad, which was conveniently hidden out of frame. So Accsoon states that this transmitter works up to 100 meters with an uninterrupted line of sight, so of course I had to test it out myself to see if it's true. And unfortunately, I didn't really get up to 100 meters. Now this was a bit disappointing, but at the same time, I'm not someone who would usually shoot up to 100 meters. So I did this test progressively, and as I moved further and further away from the transmitter, I did find there was a lot of connection issues and a bit of lag in the footage. To me, this isn't something very dependable, especially if you have a fast moving scene and you might not always be able to keep the same distance from the transmitter. So if you're working on a professional shoot, I don't think this is a device for you, but if you're just at home like me shooting something and you want a wireless system, I think this is a great budget option. So with that said, I don't think this is something for a high budget shoot or something that you would do professionally, but if you're at home like me or in a controlled environment, I think this is something perfect, something cheap and affordable, and gives you a very convenient wireless solution. So to use the Cine Eye on your smart device, you would need to download the Accsoon app. Now the app comes with a couple of functions and features, some I found more useful than others. So I switched over to my mobile phone so that you guys can see what functions there are and how I'm using them on the screen. So first off, we have the waveform function. There's also an RGB mode to that. Next up, we have this gray mode that, I don't know, just turns it into a monochrome footage. We also have an RGB one that lets you tint it green, blue or red. One of the very useful ones is the focus function, which allows you to adjust the focus peaking sensitivity as well as the color of your focus. So this is pretty good, especially if you're using manual focus lenses. This is very good to keep track of your focus. The next function is this false color function. I'm not too sure what this is used for. If you guys know it, do leave it in the comments. I'm honestly not sure what this does. There is a histogram function as well, a zebra function to monitor the exposure, and you can also toggle how sensitive you want this exposure detection to be. And there is a LUT function which you are able to overlay your LUTs onto your footage so that your clients can see in real time what it looks like. Alright, so for example, if I want to overlay a LUT, I just double click it and select the LUT that I want. Now this isn't a great LUT, but it's just to give you guys an example of what it can do. So just to toggle it on and off, it's there. And there's also an extension menu which allows you a lot more functions, especially if you want to turn on markers like the center marker, which gives you sort of that crosshair to mark out the center of your shot. Another function would be the safety markers, so you know where's the safe zones of your shots. There is also an aspect ratio marker which allows you to, kind of frame your shots depending on your aspect ratio. The marker colors can also be changed: red, green, blue, or white. The marker width as well, from a 2 to 4, 6, and 8 for thicker markers. Now you can also zoom in up to 4 times if you want to check your focus of your shot, especially if you're using manual lenses. But one of my favorite features is the anamorphic de-squeezing factors here. So for example, I was using an anamorphic lens in one of my previous videos, and having this function to de-squeeze the shot live on my monitor was very useful. Now you can also change the channels and the password of the Wi-Fi in case you're using a couple of these Cine Eyes in the same room. And lastly, there's a color range toggle on and off. I'm not too sure what this does. If you guys know, that's great. Alright, so to sum up this whole video, I think the Cine Eye isn't really meant for professionals, more for amateurish or home studio shooters like myself who just want to frame up their shots to see how it looks like without having too many wires running around. It's a very portable solution. You can use it on gimbals, you can fit it right into your bag. It's very small. It has its own built-in battery, which is very convenient as well. But for the professionals, I don't think this is something that it's up to standard yet. The latency is still pretty bad, so you can't use it to pull focus very accurately. And the connection issues isn't something you want to fumble about, especially on a shoot in front of clients. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you guys have any questions, do leave it in the comments below and I'll try my best to answer them. If not, like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next one.